Today we're going to discuss EasyVista Domains. What are they, and why should you care? To understand EasyVista Domains, it helps to first understand the security of a typical ITSM solution. Most ITSM solutions on the market today are role-based. This means that a defined role controls both what a user can do in the solution, as well as what data objects a user has access to see. In these systems, when it becomes necessary to either grant or restrict access to specific functions or data sets, typically a new role is created, mapping to these permission levels. A common practice in solutions that leverage this security model is role cloning. In this practice, a copy is made of an existing role that closely resembles the newly desired functionality and data entitlements, and tweaks are applied to it to map it to the specific new requirements. The EasyVista security model is fundamentally different from a role-based approach in one key way. Instead of organizing all security parameters in a single role element, EasyVista's model leverages domains to separate the definition into two distinct layers. The first of these elements is the user profile. The user profile provides a comprehensive definition of the functional access a user can be granted. This can include what updates can be performed, the wizards that can be launched, or even the administrative permissions to configure the solution itself. In short, the user profile defines what a user can do. The second component is the EasyVista domain. The EasyVista domain is the definition of the data set a user can access. By establishing the domain for a user, we define the specific elements that fall within that user's purview. Where a user's ability to take action on a data is defined by their profile, the domain identifies whether they even know that data exists. So let's take a moment to understand what exactly these domains are and how they function. EasyVista domains are essentially partitions or walls between the data that make up your ITSM solution. Like a wall, domains can easily segment and restrict data visibility across disparate groups within your environment. Domains, however, offer substantially more flexibility than a standard partition. This is based on the overlapping hierarchical model inherent in the EasyVista domain framework. Where most partitions simply include or exclude data based on querying a single attribute or record, the EasyVista domain establishes control by aligning to one or more of the hierarchical entry points on any of the four separate metadata models. These models are location, department, type, and category. This gives us nearly unlimited flexibility to quickly and easily define the data sets that are in scope or out of scope for a particular domain. And as if this level of flexibility weren't enough, individual user accounts can be associated with multiple or even overlapping domains. This makes it incredibly easy to logically segment the data rights that make sense within our organization and publish these rights to the appropriate users without necessitating the creation of hundreds of exception-based role definitions to facilitate non-standard corner use cases in our environment. To understand this further, let's dive into a few typical examples of domain configuration. Here we see three of the four hierarchies modeled in the EasyVista domain structure: location, category, and department. It's important to note these hierarchies are completely configurable by you. For example, location could be a hierarchy modeled by geographic location, as in country to state to city to address, or a logical hierarchy, as is shown in this example of headquarters to region to building to room. The system will allow you to model any structure that meets your needs. In the first example, Domain 1, we need to create a domain to isolate users who operate solely within Region 1. By associating Region 1 to the domain, we automatically inherit not only all the data directly associated with Region 1, but also the data associated with the children of Region 1. In this example, we also want users to have access to request data regardless of the location association. To facilitate this, we also associate the top-level request object to the domain, thus allowing users of this domain to see all request data. This means a user associated with Domain 1 would see an incident associated with Region 1, but not Region 2, but could see requests from either location. In our second example, Domain 2, the user primarily has access to the Public Relations Department data. Any record associated with public relations would be visible to users of this domain. These users would also have access to incidents in the web category, but not other incident categories that are not associated with the Public Relations Department. Finally, users of this domain would be able to see device-related requests as well as child types under the device category. Note, this includes categories contained also within Domain 1. Because of the flexibility of domains, these structures can overlap without impacting each other. Finally, users can be associated with both domains, giving them access to an even wider array of data without necessitating the creation of numerous cloned variations of these two configurations. As you can see, domains provide substantial power in identifying precisely which data elements are accessible to a given set of users. They are nearly infinitely flexible, and because users can be members of multiple domains, it is possible to create standard, secure, and auditable data entitlements which help minimize risk and greatly simplify administration. Still, you might be asking, can't I achieve exactly the same results using role-based security? And of course the answer is yes and no. To illustrate this point, let's take a look at a standard demo scenario. When demonstrating the ability to segment data between various groups of users, most role-based solutions will model something similar to what is represented here. In this example, we assume there's a need to create two partitions for two separate groups which will be used by members of two functional roles. In EasyVista, we would achieve this by establishing the two user profiles, one for technician and one for end user, and the two domains, one for main office and one for region A. This would establish 4 managed control objects within EasyVista. A role-based system would create cloned access roles to establish identical functionality, creating one for the technician main, one for technician in region A, one for technician in main and region A, and of course the same for the end user, with end users in main, region A, and both. This means to create the same number of discrete access controls, the role-based system would need to create 6 managed objects. Now, while this represents a 50% increase in the number of managed objects, in truth, the managing of 2 additional objects is not overly complicated and does not represent substantial savings of time or complexity. However, the example of 2 domains and 2 user types does not represent a typical user environment. This is one of the many ways demos can be used to misrepresent the complexity of specific configurations. When we expand on the typical demonstration to include even just 4 domains and roles, you can see the complexity begins to become apparent. In this example, EasyVista would have 8 managed control objects, or 4 domains and 4 profiles. To replicate the same level of access control supported by this minimalistic configuration, you can see the role-based system must stretch substantially. With only 4 domains active, we can see that the role-based access system must expand to over 60 role variants to provide equal number of configuration options. That means 60 controls must be built, tested, and maintained. Even if we ignore the risk and look only at the cost, assuming an industry standard of 3 minutes of maintenance object per year, the difference in this example equates to a savings of over 2.5 hours per year. Of course, it's easy to make the argument that 2.5 hours per year doesn't constitute a meaningful investment, but we must remember that we are still only looking at a demonstration example. Let's see what happens when we expand this to the scope of a typical Level 2 or Level 3 ITSM maturity environment. In this more practical example, the EasyVista system is managing 8 profiles and 8 domains. That gives us a total of 16 managed control objects, for an annualized maintenance investment just under 1 hour. Compare this to the role-based system, which, to create the same number of discrete access controls, would require the creation and maintenance of over 2,000 managed control objects. Looking from an investment perspective at the industry standard 3 minute per object represents a delta of almost 2.5 weeks invested in maintaining the security model for your ITSM solution. This is the reality for so many ITSM administrators today. In some environments, we find almost as many ITSM security roles as we find users of the systems. Role clones quickly get out of control, and inevitably you lose not only countless hours maintaining this bloated structure, but from a security perspective, you lose all auditability pertaining to your security controls. You can no longer define which users have access to which data, and that uncertainty creates risk and potential costs that far outweigh the maintenance costs associated with maintaining this model. And we can't forget, this only represents the world in a ITSM maturity model level 2 or 3. If we evolve to a level 3 or level 4 maturity, the problem continues to compound. These more mature organizations oftentimes leverage as many as 30 access profiles and can feature up to 12 separate domains. Given those parameters, the delta for role-based configuration to domain administration can be as many as 3 full-time employees. Which is why we always say equivalent functionality is not the same as equivalent value. Demos can be great, but never trust it, always test it. Thank you for taking the time today to learn more about EasyVista Domains. If you'd like to learn more about the EasyVista solution, feel free to review our other videos or contact your sales team and ask about trying EasyVista in your environment today.